So let's have a look at this little sequence, but before we do, let's just plot out the double note shape. I assume you know the minor pentatonic first position shape that we have right here. And we're in the key of E blues, so whoopsie. So you're in the 12th fret and you have all the first finger notes in the 12th fret, right? Then you have a note in the 15th fret on the two top strings. And then you have the 14th fret as the second note for both the G, the D, and the A string, right? So you have that whole tone interval there on both the G string, the D string, and the A string, and you still have your first finger in the 12th fret. And then on the low E string you have that minor third interval again, where you have the 12th and the 15th fret. That is the traditional... That is the traditional minor shape, right? But then we add some notes to it. We just add another note on each string from the scale. So for instance, on the E string here, we add the next note in the scale, which is in the 17th fret. And if you know your basic pentatonic shapes, and you don't have to look into this program, but the next shape would look like this. And we're actually combining two regular traditional shapes here, because we're borrowing the next note from the next shape. And that will be in the 17th fret on the E string, giving you this kind of structure. You have the minor third and a whole tone on the E string. You have the minor third and a whole tone on the B string as well. So here you have the same, and you might want to practice that right now just to get it. And you don't mind that you have double notes here, hence the name, right? Double note shape. You have the E there, and you also have an E right here on the first note of the B string. But don't think about that right now. Just get this shape into your fingers. Then on the next string, the G string, we have a little odd thing going on here compared to the other strings. We have two whole tone intervals. We have the 12th, the 14th, and the 16th on that string. So we go, we have those three notes right there. And the 12th fret always for the first finger. That's the shape for the G string. Then we have the D string, which is the whole tone and a minor third interval, beginning from the 12th fret. So you have the 12th, the 14th, and the 17th there. And you have that same shape on the A string. So exactly the same frets, right, on these two strings, and exactly the same frets on the top two strings. So what you could say is we have basically the same two shapes up here. Then we have a kind of an odd shape in between the two whole tone intervals on the G string, and then we have again two reversed shapes where we have the whole tone first and then a minor third interval afterwards. I'm just saying this because it makes it easier to remember the shape visually. Then you have these two shapes on the D and A string, and then again the minor third and the whole tone, just like on the top E string, you have that same shape on the bottom E string, or the low E string. And that gives us this shape. Right? So now we have a double note shape. And let's create a sequence within it that fits it, so we don't have these double notes, but we're still going to use the layout of the scale shape, which is really the whole core of this, is that we're going to use the fact that we can reach for the same note in two different places. Always, you know, when we move through the scale, and that gives us an ability to create sequence after sequence that is really relatively impossible to play in the traditional shape. You know, it just has its very severe limitations and its great benefits, because it's so good to phrase with, but it's not that good to play fast in. So that's where the double note shapes comes in. So let's look at the sequence. Let me just play it again, if I can, just one time. It says, yeah, so let's look into it. What you do is you have the first three notes on the high E string there, right? And then you are going to focus on the 15th fret on the B string. So you have the 12, 15, and 17 on the high E string. You have the 15th right there. And what you do is that you start with the 15th fret. You pick that with an upstroke. So you go, and then you pull it off down to the 12th fret right here. So that's pretty manageable. Right, upstroke first in the 15th fret on the high E string, pull off down to the 12th. And then you hit the 15th fret on the B string with a downstroke. And those strokes are very important because you end up having a specific rhythm in your picking hand here. So you pick the 15th fret on the high E string with an upstroke, you pull off down to the 12th, and then you hit the 15th fret on the B string with your third finger with a downstroke, right? So up, pull off, and down. And then you go right back to the E string again and just go up and down. So you go. So once you've done this, upstroke, pull off down to 12, downstroke in the 15th fret on the B string, then you use an upstroke again to return to the 12th fret on the E string. So you basically go up, pull off, downstroke, upstroke. Again slowly. And back to the 12th fret on the high E string. And from there, you hammer on in the 15th, and you hammer on in the 17th, and you pull off down to the 15th again, and pull off down from the 15th to the 12th. So once you hit the E string right there, you basically just hammer on and pull off all the, the notes up and then down. Right? So now we have upstroke, pull off, downstroke, new string, and then upstroke, and then we just play the whole thing slowly now. And make sure, of course, that you're actually hammering on those notes and not just fretting them. With a little distortion, a little compression, that sounds okay. But once you get it up to speed, that won't be enough for you. So you really have to practice it while it's, slow. So you really hammer on with your fingertip, not with the flat part of your finger. Really use your fingertip. And that, of course, requires you to have a lot more, precision when you use your fingertip because it isn't that wide. So you have to hit it dead on. But if you do that, and if you set a standard for yourself that is that high, then that's the technique you'll develop. It will be awesome. So that's the whole sequence. That's it now. And you could then repeat it on the same string and just start over again once you're done. So you go and then upstroke, right? Upstroke. Right? So now you have a sequence there, but let's move it around so we don't have to stay in the same place all day. So what you really do is you just repeat the whole thing, but you start on a different string. So let's do it. That's the first instance of the sequence. And I think it's a good idea to create a circular exercise that you can do over and over and over again, where you don't have to stop. So you don't have to go and then, okay, and one more time. You want a circular exercise where you can go. But that exercise has to contain all challenges, or at least the challenges you're working on. So, but in this case, we're just going to create an exercise that really contains all of them, almost. So we're just going to do 2 strings. So I'm going to go right on the first one. Then I'm going to place my fingers on the B string instead, and then do the whole thing. But now from the B string. And the only difference really is where the note is on the lower string. Up here I had the note in the 15th fret. When I start on the B string, I have my extra note there in the 14th fret. And I have to use my second finger to finger that note. I'm just going to do the same thing. Right? So I'm hitting the 15th fret with an upstroke and pulling off down to the 12th. Then I'm hitting the 14th fret with a downstroke on the G string and returning to the B string, 12th fret, with an upstroke, and then I'm just going to hammer on and pull off again all the way down, right? So it sounds like this. And the only difference is this note. its placement when you go. It's just in the 14th fret there. And if you now just return back to the first again, so you go. That's the first, right? And then the second. Now you have a circular exercise where you can go back and forth all the time without stopping. And this little exercise contains shifting from one instance of the sequence to another, from the E to the B string, right? So it's got almost all of it. Except from the fact that your first finger might as well just stay, you know, creating a bar down here, and you can't do that the rest of the way. Right? So the next thing here would be, because now you have the notes in the 14th and the 12th fret there, and the 16th fret, you know, that special string in the middle here. And what I do is I hit the 14th fret with an upstroke, pull off down to the 12th with my second finger there, or my third finger, depending on what finger you usually use to play a shape like this. I use my second finger. So, pull off, upstroke on the G string, pull off down to 12, hit the 14th fret on the D string with a downstroke, and then have an upstroke again in the 12th fret on the G string, and then a hammer on to 14th, hammer on to 16th, pull off down to 14th, and pull off down to 12th. I'll play that slowly. Right? So now we have 3. Just going to play them all slow all the way down in the end. So let's do the next one. Now we have our shape that goes whole tone and minor third. So we have the 12th, the 14th, and the 17th. So I'm going to hit the middle note there, right there, and I'm going to hit it with an upstroke, pull off down to 12, hit the 14th fret on the A string with a downstroke, hit the 12th fret again with an upstroke, and then hammer on 14th, 17th, and back again. Right, so it sounds like this. Again. And the last string, we have the same thing as on the D string here, but this time we have the extra note in the 15th fret instead of the 14th. So it goes like this: 14, upstroke, pull off down to 12, hit the 15th fret with your third finger on the low E string, the downstroke, then an upstroke again in the 12th fret on the A string, and then hammer on and pull off 14 and 17 and back again. Right? And then I just go, you know, or whatever. Just play 15 and then 12. So I'm just going to play that slowly. Right? So. So let's play the whole thing slowly. I'm just going to have a little break in between each instance of the sequence so you can pinpoint where I am.